morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Welcome back to another fantastic Last of Us 2 speculations and theories. Today is going to be a special video. It's going to be all about the multiplayer. Now, arguably, the multiplayer was some of the best conceptually designed multiplayer in any game ever, let alone a PlayStation exclusive. Now, let's go ahead and cover the game modes that we already experienced in the original Last of Us and that we can expect to be returning for The Last of Us Part 2. Now, before we get into everything confirmed, and I got some wild speculations about some new stuff going into the new multiplayer in The Last of Us Part 2. But before we get into all that, enjoy the trailer reveal B-roll in the background. It's the only relevant Last of Us 2 gameplay, and I know I'm using it as my B-roll in pretty much all of my videos. What do you guys think? Should I ditch the B-roll and just put up some multiplayer from The Last of Us? Would you guys prefer that, or do you just want to keep watching the trailer for the inevitable speculation videos that I'm going to keep throwing at you guys? So, participate and conversate down below about the B-roll. Should we use some Last of Us Remastered B-roll from the multiplayer, or just keep going with the Last of Us 2 reveal trailer as the current B-roll? You guys let me know. Now, without further ado, let's get started. Now, to the surprise of many, the Last of Us multiplayer was excellent, and it was second to none. It implemented everything from the crafting elements from the single player and implemented that into the multiplayer. Okay, you could collect these ingredients from the supply drops, and you could craft weapons on the fly, spike 2x4s, Molotovs, so many things. You know, just the arsenal that and tools that you could craft in the multiplayer on the fly was really, really impressive. Now, the game modes that we already had were the three following: Supply Raid, Survivors, and Interrogation. Now, Supply Raid was a normal 4v4 team deathmatch, okay? It was just kill the other team until all their lives are gone. Now, in Survivors, it was the same concept, but it was pitted up in rounds with no respawns, which made for some pretty intense engagements. And last but not least, Interrogations. Now, Interrogations didn't come out at launch. It came in the first DLC update. And instead of killing, you must interrogate the opponents. You must interrogate the opponents to find information that ultimately revealed where the lockbox was. And in Interrogations, it really required a lot of teamwork, a lot of strategy, and a lot of communication. And I think a lot of people really enjoyed that. That was arguably one of the favorite game modes for myself and many, many other players. Now, let's go ahead. It's time to speculate. This is what you guys came for. You want to hear the sweet speculations that I got. And we gotta start with the one and only Horde Mode. I think that was arguably one of the biggest things that game modes that people really wanted in the PlayStation 3 and remastered. And even the multiplayer developers came out and they said, you know, we're aware of this. We really wanted it in the game as well, but there wasn't enough room. Now, when The Last of Us 3 was remastered over to the PlayStation 4, everybody thought, well, surely we're going to get a new game mode. No, it never happened. It never happened. So, that's going to be our creme de la creme. We want a Horde mode. Do you guys agree? Do you guys disagree? I'm pretty sure most of you would agree. Now, when I talk about Horde mode, I'm talking about like a three-way battle between two teams and random enemies. Okay, either infected, you got a bunch of clickers running around at both sides of the team, and you're killing clickers, you're killing enemies. It's going to make for intense engagements. Really, really intense engagements. Now, Horde mode is by far one of my biggest speculated game modes, and I'm going to stand strong by this for the next couple of years, and I'm going to speculate more and more about it. But without further ado, Reddit, over on the Last of Us 2 multiplayer Reddit page, the Last of Us factions, there's so much going on over there. There is so much going on over there, and I've compiled all of the greatest ideas. None of these are my speculations. These are the community's speculations. Enjoy. Top of the list, tear gas. Upgrade for a grenade launcher. Slowly damages health, impairs the HUD so it's hard to see, and you can switch out with crafted smoke grenades. Next, we got a Speargun Speculation. Now, this would be pretty damn cool. It would be awesome if it was purchasable. It contained a bleed out damage and pin guys to the wall. Maybe it could have a rope attached to the spear so you can drag down enemies towards you. Some kind of like Mortal Kombat kind of stuff. Get over here. You know what I'm saying? Moving on. Attrition Mode. I thought this was really interesting coming from the Reddit page. Attrition Mode. A brutal slugging match where each side has over 100 lives and no time limit. The first team to completely wipe out the other ultimately wins. That would definitely be that's a stamina match right there. That's like 1,000 tickets of conquest. That can make for 30, 45, 60-minute matches. That would be insane. Next game mode we're talking about here, Siege Mode. I really like this one as well. More like plant the flag than capture the flag. Both teams take turns trying to capture the other base. Defending team has more supplies but less lives. I thought that one was really, really interesting. Siege Mode. Next is Tourist Mode. 7 versus 1. This is really, really a pretty neat idea here. One player is the tourist and has every max perk, unlimited parts to spend, and gets bombs and melee weapons from toolboxes. However, the other players have to kill him but only have 1 life each, and if he wipes them, then ultimately the tourist wins. The player that kills him becomes the next tourist. That is, so it ultimately would just rotate after every kill, once the kill, so it's 7, that's really neat. That's a pretty good idea. Got some new attachments here. The Riot Shield, also as a purchasable. It would be useful in surviving Molotovs, and we all know that Molotovs are fucking OP. Oh my god, so many Molotovs. And if you guys want to see some sweet kick-ass montages, I've got like, I don't know, 20, 30 montages over on my channel. I even got a tab for it. Enjoy those. But yes, some riot shields that would ultimately be for the Molotovs. Now, it might be cumbersome and provides about the same protection as body armor, but it would obviously be balanced with armor so you don't have invincible tank players. It would provide excellent back protection, turtle power, when you put it on your back. And that's just a really cool idea because there's nothing really going against the Molotov. I mean, you put on a full list of arsenal, you get hit with a Molotov, all of your armor falls off. And you know, that works. We need something else that kind of complements that. Maybe we can have armor and a riot shield. That would be nuts. That would be nuts. All right, here's another one here I thought was pretty neat. Instead of shivving, you can go for a strangle takedown. This is really only ideal if you do not have a shiv and the other player can escape by ultimately mashing the shit out of X. Moving on, reviving teammates cost you a health pack. This would be an interesting dilemma for players, forcing them to make judicious use of already limited resources. I thought that was a very, very cool idea. We got a new meta game, more immersive meta games, and game deaths are subtracted from your clan and part score, representing your clan members being killed or looted. You start the game with more or less available lives depending on the health of your clan. Heck, maybe the meta game could have its own story mode where part of it's played in single player, setting up your camp, recruiting survivals, exploring, etc., and missions are done in the multiplayer. The goal is simply to keep your people alive as long as possible. Each faction has a different kind of campaign. I thought that was really, really cool because I loved the whole fact to where your faction or your multiplayer was based on your survivors, and if you were linked to your Facebook account, your survivors, you could see, you know, your buddy say Mr. Mad Duckets is dying of cholera. You know what I mean? Or something like that. Moving on to a couple other good ones here. Some kind of use of gas mask. There might be spores on the map that damage health. Another one that I really feel strong about this, dynamic weather, dynamic lighting for every map. You got rain, snow, dust, day and night. Night maps are dark enough that you need to use flashlights. Maybe just oh my God, that's so intense. so intense. I definitely think dynamic weather really needs to be implemented in the game. I don't see a reason why it cannot be. Now, tournaments and challenge lobbies run by Naughty Dog with cool, one-of-a-kind prizes, character swag, and leaderboards. This would be a great way to keep the multiplayer community active and generate a lot of hype. I thought that was a pretty good idea. That's, pretty good idea. Here's a goofy one. Different skins for 2x4s. Pipes, crowbars, cricket bats, truncheons, and machetes, hatchets, katanas, etc., etc. Machetes that chop through 2x4s. It's a little unrealistic, but nonetheless, it's gratifying. That would be pretty cool. One thing I would like to see implemented here, now that I'm thinking about it, is weathered guns. Weapons that deteriorate over time. I think that would be, because you say you got the same burst fire weapon that you use throughout the whole game and you go flawless. What about that weapon that would deteriorate over time and ultimately become useless? I think that would be a pretty neat idea. The last couple of ones here. Guns can jam. Fully upgraded weapons do not jam. Melee weapons can get stuck in player bodies and you have to mash X to get it out of the body. Say you're spiked 2x4. That's a pretty good idea. Weapon jams, that's realistic. I'd like to see something like that. Last but not least, I got a couple of here. Bottles and bricks from the single player can distract players by showing up on the radar blimp in multiplayer. Say you can pick up a bottle, chuck it over there, and it signifies on the radar, and the enemy player thinks it's a footstep, but then you can get the upper hand and maybe like a left hand and right hand flank. Last but not least, a lightsaber. I thought that was pretty good, pretty goofy. I don't really see what I really like in The Last of Us. It wasn't goofy like ultimately the Uncharted multiplayer. Uncharted gets pretty downright goofy shit. I'm talking like pink bunny outfits and shit, you know what I mean? I really don't want to see anything like that in The Last of Us 2. Personally, I do not want to see anything too goofy. I like the character skins idea and the weapon skins and outfits. I think that's pretty cool, but don't get too goofy like it's Uncharted 4. I think that would ultimately take away from the brutality that we already have in the game. Don't take away any of it because it's going to be perfect. Alright, so that's it for the multiplayer speculations and theories. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, please hit the indicator of the upper thumb. It really motivates me to put some more Last of Us 2 Part 2. Did I say Last of Us 2 Part 2? Yeah, I think I did. But it really motivates me to do some more content for you guys because I really enjoy doing these speculations videos. And if you guys are enjoying it, then I'm going to keep bringing it. Awesome. Until next time, I'll see you guys in the next video.